Okay, I think we are live. Hello, everybody, and welcome to Honey Badger Radio. This is a Fireside Chat number 94. I am here with a special guest, a little bit of a spontaneous decision on my part to talk to this gentleman. Your name is Easy Peasy. Is that how you would say it? Easy?
Just call me Easy.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So, I guess we'll get a little bit of some introductions out of the way. My name is Brian Martinez. I work at Honey Badger Radio. We are a YouTube channel that has a focus mainly on men's issues. However,
I know more or less who you guys are. It's fine.
Okay, all right, you do. All right. But this topic, because we also talk about the larger culture war going on, and we've seen lots of like cases where you get like this sort of I don't know, like instances of collusion and sort of incestuous behavior within certain industries, and it tends to have a corrupting effect. Like, if you saw what happened with Gamergate, I don't know if you were familiar with that. Yeah, and what happens, what's going on with comics right now, and even what was going on in music and film and television, it's everywhere, right?
Yeah, I remember there was a big sort of controversy around metal music. I don't really listen to it, but a bunch of magazines that write about metal music started writing articles attacking their own fans, and that didn't really last long. There was a sort of Metalgate for like a hot minute, but no one really gave a fuck.
No. Yeah, of course, Metalgate it's a good example of how you can... Metalgate's a really good example of like how if you're like unapologetically devoted to what to your sort of fandom, and you don't let outside interference like mess with you or your people.
The metalheads didn't give a fuck.
No,
it's
they
really
didn't give a fuck.
Because you know who did actually get engulfed, sort of really get sucked into this, who you wouldn't think would get sucked into this? Throw a guess. Who's worse than metalheads, who you would not believe got sort of strong-armed by angry feminists?
Like the punk people, maybe punk rockers. Worse than that. The death metal people, Satan worshippers. I don't know.
You're out of guesses.
Okay,
the ICP.
The Insane Clown Posse, the Juggalos.
Yeah, the fucking Juggalos used to have a convention like yearly, and they had like a beauty contest, but for Juggalos. It wasn't really a beauty contest. It was a bunch of chicks getting naked on stage, and just people would throw bottles of beer at them and all that shit. So a bunch of fat feminist Juggalos decided that they don't like that, and they started the Respect movement, which is their alternative to the Juggalo beauty contest. And the Juggalo beauty contest still goes on, but these fat bitches get up on stage during these beauty contests, and they're really fat. All of them are fat, in Juggalo makeup, and read feminist Juggalo poetry. There's a fucking documentary about that shit. It's unbelievable.
My God. Okay. The dark side of my brain says I have to see this, but the rest of me is terrified. It's just terrified. That sounds like some I hypocrite shit. Unbelievable. Well, we're seeing this happening, right? So I ran into your video where you were, a little bit about you. So you're an admin at Encyclopedia Dramatica, is that right?
Yeah.
And what is that? What do you do at Encyclopedia? I mean, like, what does that job entail, I guess, or function?
How okay are you with rude language on your stream here?
It's fine. We don't have no
I
filters.
tard wrangle. I'm a tard wrangler. I wrangle the tards. Okay. They come into the site, into the forum with their little tard helmets and holding hands and their little signs. Please be kind. I have autism, and I just kind of wrangle them into a straight line on the way to the retard cafeteria. That's basically my job. And shit posting and tard wrangling. That's all we do on the site.
Okay. I wouldn't imagine that Encyclopedia Dramatica would get that kind of traffic, but imagine my shock. You guys do.
Shocking, amazing. Only the finest individuals, okay? High class, upscale, uptown gentlemen with monocles and long mustaches and top hats. They're the only ones who read our sites, and occasionally a tard. Occasionally, once in a while, and then I have to get out my lasso and I have to pull him back in line. It's rare, but it happens. in
Yeah.
between our champagne get-togethers and throwing diamonds at each other for fun.
Yeah, yeah. um, okay, so how did so what kind of stuff do you normally talk about on your YouTube channel, and how did you come across this story, this person that sort of reached out to you? How, like what was involved with that? What's the backstory
Okay,
before
so
the video?
here's the story. Here's the story. So I have a YouTube channel, and I was making videos, and they were all garbage. So I decided I'm gonna stop making the videos I'm interested in for a while and work on my editing. Right around that time, I saw a video by a YouTuber I really like, E::R. He made a video making fun of Steven Universe, and I looked at that thing, and that was really well edited. And I thought to myself, this video is so good, I'm gonna watch this show and see if it's really as bad as he says. So I go and I watch Steven Universe. I watch the entire thing, and it's bad. Like, he's right about everything, but I have about 700 more complaints. So I decide, I have about 100 subscribers. No one's going to see this. Nothing's going to happen. I'm just going to make a video and try to sort of mimic his style, to sort of practice editing. What's going to happen? No one's going to see it. I'm going to be fine. So I'm copying him.
Count Dankula said the same thing, but never mind.
What,
Count Dankula. He's the guy who had the
pop. Who was he copying?
No, he wasn't copying anyone, but he made that video when he had almost no.
Puck, yeah.
He had so few subscribers. He figured the only people that would see it were his friends, and it ended up becoming like a viral thing. And
something similar happened to me. I made that video, and my highest hopes were that I'd piss off a few Steven Universe fans. I intentionally made the audio too quiet, and then I filled it with a lot of ear-exploding ear rape.
Oh, ear rape stuff. Yeah, okay.
Yeah, I thought it would drive him crazy, and maybe I'd get I'd trick maybe 20 people tops, get a few angry comments, have some fun. At this point, this video has gotten about 1.2 million views.
Wow.
Yeah, it's like all day long. I'm getting stupid comments. It's been a year. For an entire year, I'm still getting stupid comments from Steven Universe fans. It's absolutely fascinating. The depths of stupidity of that fan base is, you can never plumb the depth. You keep going deeper and deeper. You never hit the bottom. But
okay.
But anyways, so the people who start watching my channel, they start they like it, so they start asking me make some more videos about some cartoons, and I figure I'm still practicing editing. Who cares? I'll make them. So I start making videos, and my videos are similar to the one I made about the Steven Universe show, because I look at it and I say this is kind of garbage. It looks like shit. The audio is shit. The voice acting is shit. It's filled with this weird, like, semi-sexual propaganda. Like, I make one about Star vs. the Forces of Evil. I make a little one about Rick and Morty. And after a while, after I make my...
real quick, because I've never watched any of these. I didn't even watch Adventure Time. The art style of all of them, it's just like nails on a chalkboard. I just can't stand to look at it, so I never watched the shows.
Very lazy, very ugly.
And so I don't know what you mean by like the semi-sexual propaganda. Like there was a show that was on Netflix.
Let me explain.
Oh yeah, go ahead, explain.
Steven Universe is the best example of this. Okay, so let me give you the plot of Steven Universe. So there's this fat kid who always cries, and his mom was an alien. Then his mom died giving birth to him, so now he's being raised by his mom's 3 lesbian ex-girlfriends, while his dad lives in a van and hardly ever sees him. And he basically fights aliens, but he mostly fights them by crying. He's very obese, and all the aliens are women, and they're all lesbians. That's the show. That's what the show is about. It's a children's show. I mean, it's implied, but sometimes they fuse to create a new alien woman, and the fusing is a metaphor for a relationship, and it's almost always preceded by a weird sexual dance. And in one of the fusing instances, one of them jumps into the other one's vagina.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Really?
So
they got away with that?
Graphic,
no, I know, but
it's
I mean,
for 1 second. It's for a little second.
Okay.
So basically, I make these cartoons. I make these videos about the cartoons. And, there aren't a lot of people who are criticizing the cartoons the way I am, because I'm not really a cartoon guy. I don't really care that much about cartoons. Unlike pretty much every other cartoon channel, like 99% of them who are spurks, who are grown-ass man-children who are obsessed with children's cartoons. So you won't get a lot of serious criticism from them. You won't get a lot of, you know, pointing out that the cartoons are actually bad and that there's some like covert propaganda in there just a little bit, and it's really inappropriate. So I'm the only one making these videos, and some guy who, well, guy or girl, it's my source. It's easier for me to just call him Guy because it's instead of just saying my source every time. So this person, he sees my videos and he's like, you know, you got it. You figured it out. You pretty much hit the nail on the head about everything. You just, you know, you got a few things off. And this person contacts me, and they're like, "Listen, let me talk to you. Tell me some more things."
How did they contact you? Like they found you on Twitter, or they just sent you through the YouTube messaging, or
yeah, they just DM'd me on one site. They're just like, "Listen, man, I saw your videos. You got it all right. I saw all of that shit from the inside. Let me tell you what kind of mess this is." Because, you know, it is sort of like Gamergate in a way, because even before the Zopos thing happened, everyone knew that the industry is sort of a shit show, but no one knew the specifics. So this guy's like, "Listen, let me give you the finer points. This guy's fucking this guy. This guy's fucking this girl. Everyone has a venereal disease. No one has any talent. They just hire their friends. Half of them are dropouts. It's a complete mess."
Yeah. Yeah, so I was watching I've seen the video already, and I'm a comic artist, so I'm involved with Comicsgate, and you know I'm following all this stuff closely. So the culture, the stuff that's going on in the culture is something that I have an interest in. So I watched your video and I took some notes, but I didn't get a chance to go through the whole thing and take every note I wanted to. But I wanted to ask you about some specific things that maybe we can like sort of tell some people that are watching that may not have seen the video, a little bit about what was said in it. So before we do, I just want to make sure that we make the disclaimer. This is not your experience. This is something that someone, your source, told you about, and it's like is there any way that you could have confirmed or that you really believe that this person actually is coming from within the animation industry?
No,
or
I can
is
tell
this...
you 100% that this person is coming from the animation industry. The second they contacted me, before even asking them anything, I basically doxed them so they don't have any time to fake anything. And I went through and I made sure that the person who's talking to me is the person who's talking to me, and it's not some guy fucking with me. So yeah, the person is in the animation industry. They got blacklisted, but I can't confirm what they said. Okay. Some of it, I know that at least some of it is right, because apparently someone showed my video to a Doug. How do you pronounce his last name? Doug Tenapel?
Yeah, Doug Tenapel, the guy from Earthworm Jim guy.
And he said that, in his opinion, that about a third of it is right, a third of it is wrong, and a third of it he doesn't know. So, I know that at least 1/3 of it is right. So I'm not making everything up. Well, he's not making everything up. He's the one who told it to me.
Okay. All right. So that with that said, guys, this is not... We don't have 100% confirmation on this stuff. This is basically just me sort of asking Easy about the stuff that he was told that he made a video on. So take it with however, but we can't really confirm any of this for sure.
These are industry rumors.
Yeah, these are
industry rumors, unconfirmed.
Yeah.
A small bit of it is things you can sort of confirm, but most of it is just... It's what people have been saying in the industry for a long time, but never outside of it.
Yeah, so definitely something that I'm putting out there, because you guys should probably be at least thinking about this stuff and just keeping your eyes open, because if any of this comes out, then you're going to know where it came from, like that you may have had knowledge of this first. So, again, for the record, not confirmed. There's a lot of rumor, and this is sort of hearsay, but let's get into it anyway. So, word is, according to what you got, Pendleton Ward, and you know what, I don't know, I could be pronouncing these people's names wrong, and when I was like taking my notes, you have an accent, so sometimes I don't know if I'm like writing what I hear, but I'm not sure if that's what it says. So Pendleton Ward, is that his name, the guy who created Adventure Time? So
people just call him Penn.
Okay, Penn. All right. He supposedly he hired his friends from Cal Arts. He went to Cal Arts, and that's where he got all of his friends from.
More or less. Basically what happened here is that he got Adventure Time greenlit. He needed to hire people to work with him, And so what he did is he immediately went to people he knows, basically people who went to school with him, and just kind of hired him. And most of them weren't very good. And if you look at season 1 of the show, it looks terrible. And not only does it look terrible, it sounds completely awful. I think he also hired people who are
sound people.
Yeah, I think he hired the sound people from his friends too, but I couldn't get confirmation on that because I remember watching that first season and I was like, some things are too loud, some things are too quiet. The voice actress that does Marceline sounds like she's standing too far away from the mic. It looks completely amateurish. And I'm not an expert. I'm just a guy with eyes and ears who can look at this and say, hey, this looks like shit. This sounds like shit. Mm-hmm. So basically he hires all these people. It's a complete disaster because he doesn't really know how to run a show. He's not good at it. He's not very authoritative. He can't make people do their job. And at the end of the season, again, according to my source, basically everyone needs to be fired and replaced. So instead of replacing them with professionals this time, he finds a bunch of people who are just, on the internet. I got something wrong in the video. I said that he found Rebecca Sugar of Steven Universe on Tumblr, but more correctly, he found her. She used to have a really popular live journal. We find some of the people on Tumblr later, but Rebecca Sugar specifically had a porn live journal where she would draw a lot of cartoon CP, and she had shamefully deleted it a few years ago when the show started. But that's basically where he found her. She would hang out in conventions, throw her art at everyone, and he just found her online, fast-tracked her through all of the testing. Started off as I think she started off as a checker. Yeah, I think she was a checker at first, and then he just fast-tracked her right to being one of the head storyboarders. Just really, really fast because he just liked her. And of course, that's the level of production there, and the entire plot of the show is a mess because he had no control over these
right.
people.
If there was something you were saying that he let the storyboard artists, the various different storyboard artists, essentially come up with. They had like a basic outline, and he let everyone just go with it, and so they would
listen, board-driven shows aren't some amazing invention that he came up with. Board-driven shows happen. You let the storyboard artists sort of work on the show, but there's at least someone looking over their shows. There's at least someone making sure that they're doing their job correctly, that the plot lines aren't converging in illogical ways. That is not what was happening here, apparently. Apparently, they were just, all of them were doing whatever they want. Each of them tried to use their position as a storyboarder and as a writer at the same time to make the show his own show. And none of them would confront each other, and there was no coordination between anyone. So, again, recently the entire show ended, and a lot of plot lines that were set up years ago were not resolved. They brought them up, and nothing happened. That's it. Mm-hmm. The show ended, and a lot of things weren't concluded because no one had a plan. They were just, each of them was writing whatever he wanted.
And there was this guy, maybe I'm saying this, I hope I'm saying this right, Sam Villay, maybe? He slept all day,
Yeah, I can't even pronounce his first name. He looks like a Sherpa. You should look up. I tell you to look up his pictures, but I can't even spell his name. Mm-hmm. And again, it's someone that Penn hired because he knew him or because he found him online. And according to my source, this guy doesn't do any work. I mean, it's true for a lot of people. He told me about a lot of people that they're just not good employees. They just very lazy. There's no one watching over them. The showrunner is supposed to do what the director is supposed to do, but the director goes off doing directorship, which is basically nothing, and the showrunner sits in his office and drinks coffee, and the storyboarders are just out there on the floor just fucking around and sleeping, and no one's at work. It's a mess.
Yeah. And then there was some guy named Ken Osborne who supposedly whipped his dick out. Well, who is Ken Osborne? That's a rumor. Okay, that's a rumor. So we won't.
That might be true. But apparently there's a rumor. I think he's one of the directors on Adventure Time. I get all the names mixed up. Mm-hmm. But there's a rumor that at some storyboard meeting or at some scripter meeting, maybe he just pulled his dick out for some reason, and no clue why. No one knows why he did it. Apparently it's a rumor that's been going around the industry and everyone knows it, but my source could not confirm what exactly happened and why he did it.
Okay.
This is
So,
just an illustrative act to explain
mhm.
something in the script.
And so
Very
and
weird.
how did Rebecca Sugar manage to get, like, essentially get her own show? Like, how did she just
Easily,
get put in
everyone
that?
gets their own show.
Okay.
Everyone gets their own show. You're a storyboarder for a week. Here, take your own show. Hey, you clean the floors. Here, have your own show. Everyone gets a show confirmed. I mean, I don't know how this happened. They all promote each other, and the Adventure Time was so successful that the studios are just trying to throw everything at the wall and hope something sticks. And anyone who does a lot of work on one of these shows can use the clout that they get to get a show greenlit. I mean, it's not that easy, but too many people with too few credentials are getting shows greenlit, okay?
Mm-hmm.
And way, way too fast. I mean, another story I told in the video is that Noel Stevenson, she used to write books and comics, and according to another rumor I heard, her books were so amazingly bad that the company had to buy them back under the table to make it look like the books were selling. Just completely untalented. She's dating a webcomic artist whose name I forget. She's drawing the webcomic strong female protagonist. You can kind of tell just by the name what kind of comic it is. I mean, it's not that bad. It's not the worst comic. She has interesting ideas, but she shovels a lot of politics into it, and she's not very good at it. But I wouldn't
Well,
say it's the worst SJW comic I've ever read.
right, but I was getting to that part too, because it was one of the things that it seemed that you that came up was the all of the people, you know, that Pendleton was bringing in that were like friends of his and people that went to the schools he went to. They all kind of like had the same. They all had the same sort of political positions, and they were also like kind of, there was a lot of bickering and infighting going on in the studio to see who had it the worst, who was basically the most, I guess, virtuous or most oppressed group or whatever.
More or less. But this isn't even really a secret. There was a big controversy a few years ago where one of the storyboard artists, Lauren Zook, who was working on Adventure Time, someone found her. First of all, the fans got really angry because she was, as usual, using her position as a storyboard artist to write her favorite pairing into the show, and some of the fans didn't like that pairing. By the way, that pairing was the only interesting thing about the show at all.
Mm-hmm.
But that's neither here nor there. So she gets either fired or quits, and someone finds her personal Tumblr, and it's just her whining and complaining and saying that the work environment was abusive and that Rebecca Sugar is abusive, and she's completely crazy. And my guess is that they were all abusive to each other, and I think eventually she got hired back somehow. I think I saw her name in the credits of one of the more recent episodes. I think she's working there again, but it's the behavior of these people. You can see it on Twitter. You can see it. You can hear it from this story and from other smaller stories that sometimes get whispered around, but it's a mess.
Yeah. Yeah. And there was something else. You said that they would do this thing. I guess the storyboard artists they would shove in some, you know, like a lesbian kiss or some kind of like romantic moment into the story at the last minute. What was the purpose of that? Like a little bit about that.
So the first people who did this were Legend of Korra. Mm-hmm. In the last episode, the main female character Korra and another supporting character Asami, at the last moment of the show, they hold hands and walk into another world. Basically, it was heavily implied that they're lesbians now, which is really strange because there's no hints of this anywhere throughout the show. And later on, even one of the people admitted that they just kind of snuck that in past the censors. Like, the network would not let them. I think that this was on Nickelodeon. I'm not sure if it's Nickelodeon.
Yeah, I believe that those shows are Nickelodeon shows, yeah.
Yeah. So Nickelodeon, I think, would not let them have a gay romance on the show. So they slipped it into the last episode when, you know, it airs and it's too late to do anything. Because, you know, first of all, it's the last episode. They're not, if it's already on the air, they can't get it off of the stop airing it. They can't not rerun that episode. It's the last fucking episode. Second of all, the show's over. They're all going home. What are they going to do? Fire someone? Yeah. So they were the first ones to kind of get away with it. And then a lot of other shows started copying that, realizing that if they want to push a pro-gay agenda, which I don't have a problem with, I only have a problem that the age range for these shows is really young, so it's kind of inappropriate. If they want to push these sort of agendas in there, that they can do it in the last episode and get away with it. So this happens in Steven Universe. I think these are some of the last episodes, and in one of the last episodes recently, they had a gay wedding. Technically, it's not a gay wedding because the aliens don't have a sex. They have no. It's hard to explain, but basically, they're not women, but they're women. They look like women. They're voiced like women. They refer to each other in female pronouns, and but technically, because their species is not sexually dimorphic, they're not really male or female. So they have a gay wedding. So, and also, who else does it? Gravity Falls does it in the last episode. Again, Gravity Falls is a Disney show, and Disney would not let them put anything like that past them. But throughout the show, they put little hints that two of the male characters, the two cops, were sort of a gay couple. It's sort of hinted in a subtle enough way that Disney can't outright tell them, you can't put this in the show. And in the last episode, they sort of half-jokingly admit to each other that they're in love with each other. And recently, again, in the last episode of Adventure Time, one of the storyboard artists just put a gay kiss in the storyboards of the last episode. They were told to storyboard this sequence, and they weren't given exact directions, so they just decided that two of the female characters kiss. And this is Cartoon Network, and Cartoon Network doesn't... I said in the video that they don't have a standards and practices department.
Yeah.
And people told me I'm wrong. I'm not exactly wrong. They have something analogous to a standards and practices department. They call it something else. And it only really focuses on dealing with making sure you're up to code with, with broadcasting standards. By contrast, Disney has their own set of rules, and you can't get anything past Disney. Disney will not let you fuck with them. So it's a lot more lax in Cartoon Network. So the storyboarder puts the kiss in the show. They send it off to be animated in Korea. It comes back. No one really checks it. It goes on air. It's done. Well, I mean, no one checks it before it goes to Korea to be animated. Obviously, they're not going to tell them to reanimate something that they've already fully animated. But whoever is supposed to check it doesn't check it well enough, and it gets through onto the air. No one in the executive branch really looks at what's going on. So again, gay kiss on screen in a children's show, skewed very young, so it's very inappropriate in my opinion. I didn't really mind it in Core because Core has an older audience, so it's kind of fine. But so my point with all of this was that they're trying to play it off as if the studios are okay with it, but according to my source, they're probably just slipping it in. The people who are supposed to check the what's being put on the screen and make sure that they're not shoving some sort of, something controversial. I'm not going to say propaganda, but anything that might cause them problems by being controversial. They're not really doing their jobs, and in some studios, there isn't anyone to do that job technically, because at Cartoon Network, it isn't technically their job to make sure this doesn't get on air. They're only there for broadcasting standards, as I said. So that's basically what happens. And post factum, they go around and pretend that the studio was okay with it when the studio actually probably didn't even know until it was too late.
I got a super chat from Zaranx. If you guys want to give us any super chats, feel free to put them. I'll read them out. And if you have questions for Easy Peasy or just like statements you want to make, this is the reason why I'm talking about this again. As a reminder, this is a bit on the speculative side. There's rumor, it's discussion, it's not confirmed for sure, but I think that there could be something here, and I think there's definitely some truth basis for that would sort of make this potentially viable. So I think it should not be dismissed out of hand, is what I'm saying. So feel free to put to comment, and I'm going to get to something that I found particularly interesting. But Xerix gives us.
Yeah.
You want? I'll read it. If these people are never hired for work anymore, how much would Western animation suffer, or would it not be an issue? Don't know if this was asked.
Okay. To be fair, I talk a lot of shit about them, but they're not 100% awful. A lot of them are good artists. They can draw. They're not being held to very high standards, but if they were, they would be able to rise to those standards. A lot of them are very talented. I talked a lot of shit about what's her name, Dana Terrace, and she can draw. Same thing with with Sabrina Katugo. She's completely awful, but she's a good artist. Alex Hirsch, I talked a lot of shit about him, but he's a good director. He knows how to keep... His show was the only show that was really good because he kept his people in line. He had charts, he had plots, he had character development sheets, he had everything on the walls. Everyone had to follow the directions, do what he told them, make sure they understand the script. It wasn't the sort of, paint whatever you want. A lot of these people are talented. I'm not saying they can't be replaced. Like, it's not like there aren't more talented people out there. But, I wouldn't want all of them to be fired. I just like someone at the studio to keep an eye on them, to make sure that the showrunner isn't asleep, that they're not shoving their own personal life story into the show, that they're drawing it properly, that the storyboards are actually being done as they should be. Let me veer off into another thing here. I might be making a sequel video here soon because a lot of other people contacted me after that video to tell me a bunch of stuff. And one person went to the same school as Rebecca Sugar, the New York Institute of Fine Arts, I think it was. And he told me a lot of stories. And basically what he says that the level of the school really went down. They used to have a really high bar for accepting people, and the bar has been lowered substantially. And you still have these Fleischer animation teachers teaching there. People, old school guys with really high standards, with really good quality art. A lot of them are quitting now because it's such a shit show at this point. But they're trying to teach these kids how to draw, and it is absolutely not on that level. I mean, a few months ago, there was a thing on Twitter where a bunch of CalArt students were talking shit about Don Bluth. Like, a single one of them can draw on the level of Don Bluth. Like, one of them was saying that that at CalArts, Don Bluth is kind of a joke, that no one takes him seriously. And it's kind of amazing because, listen, you guys would be nowhere without Don Bluth. He's worth 10 of you. And they're kind of looking at it as, drawing at a certain standard, at a certain level, knowing how to do things properly is not worth the effort. Like, we can draw it in Flash. We can send it over to Korea. It's fine. We don't have to work. As long as people can see that it sort of looks like the character I drew last time, it's fine. I don't think there are even... I don't even know what it's called. I know what it's called in...
Staying on model?
No, I'm not talking about staying on model. I mean, there's supposed to be a guy who's making sure that everything is on model. I think it's a checker. Maybe it's the checkers. I get the terms confused. Anyways, have you seen... You haven't seen Steven Universe. One of the main...
I've seen some clips. I did see this one video. I don't know if it's the same one you're talking about, but I did see parts of this one really long video where this guy sort of talks about all the problems with Steven Universe, and he does talk about how the characters are very much like they're not on model. Like, they change, some that are taller become shorter, the heads change size, or even Steven changes a bunch. So, I mean, there are those criticisms.
There are two videos you could possibly be talking about. The first one is the one I talked about. R made a video, Steven Reaperverse.
Yeah, it's not that one.
Okay, so you're probably talking about, what's his name? Bedhead Bernie, who made a really interesting video explaining Bedhead Bernie makes great videos, but he hardly ever makes them. He was explaining why the animation looks like shit, and basically... they don't seem to even have character. They don't even seem to have character sheets. Ian Jones Quarry, who works there, says that as long as you can tell that the characters look sort of the same, it's good enough. He doesn't have any standards. It's good enough, and that the characters' heights are always changing, but they're on scale with each other. Like, this character is always taller than this character, but that's wrong too because they fucked that up too.
Yeah,
it's a complete joke.
To go back to what you were talking about, how the standards at that New York school are low, I can confirm 100% this is the truth with most art schools in the country. I went to a couple of art schools, and I remember I went to one. Okay, here in Chicago, we have a very prestigious school called the American Academy of Art.
Oh,
They
yeah,
have
that's a good one.
produced, yeah, they have produced some extremely famous artists. And Kanye West went to that school. He went when I
Yeah,
was
I know.
going, and he dropped out. That was the one he dropped out of. And also, the guys who created Mortal Kombat went to that school. It's like Alex Ross, who's the famous Marvel. Well, he does a comic book watercolor paintings where the characters look really realistic.
Yeah.
Very, very famous artist. The guy who did the Coca-Cola Santa Claus, lots of really famous artists went to that school. And that school, which was the most prestigious in the city, although we also have the School of the Art Institute and the Illinois Institute of Art, which are also really good, they will take anybody. So they basically say, we have to review your portfolio to see if you're going to be good enough to go to our school. It doesn't matter what's in your portfolio. They get you in because ultimately they want to make money and they want to get students. So they let everybody in, no matter how bad they are. And then only a few of them actually manage to graduate, but the ones that do, only a few of those are actually worth anything. Most of the ones who finish, they end up not getting a job in the arts because they're not held to the standards that even the instructors want to hold them to, because they have to pass people. And the only ones that don't make it are the ones that just stop going. Like basically, if you just go to every class, you don't even have to finish every assignment. They'll pass you because they want to make money. So it's absolutely true. I've seen it myself. Absolutely true.
Even if you don't pass, you can get a job because if you have clout online, in cartoon shows at the moment they'll hire you. A lot of people working right now dropped out of art school. They couldn't even finish fucking art school.
Absolutely, and this is relevant because this is related to the larger sort of cultural thing. Now, there's something about Steven Universe that I wanted to touch on because I think this is huge. At Steven Universe, I don't know if it's the management or whatever, but they were avoiding hiring men. They were trying not to get men to work there. Is that right?
That is my speculation, and my source thinks that I am correct. Let me lay it out for you. So basically, as I said, the show has a primarily female cast. It's not technically female because all of the aliens have no sex, but despite having no sex, they all look like women. Okay? So even the gems
and the voice actors are all women, and so there's a bunch of female employees, right?
Hold on, but let me continue with this. There are sometimes gems that are supposed to look evil or intimidating. Those often look very masculine, but they are still voiced by women. They just talk in a slightly lower register, I think, or maybe they pitch shift them a little bit. I think that's what they're doing there, but it's completely ridiculous. Okay, so beyond that, again, the plot is written in a way that will allow them to only write female characters. Then they hire women to voice even the female characters that look exactly like men. The only way they know how to indicate that a character is evil is by making it look like a man. Then beyond that, despite making it look like a man, they have a woman voicing it. Then when they need men to voice someone, they often hire from within the studio. Two of the voice actors on the show are storyboard artists that work there. One of which I showed a tweet that he tweeted in a video about Steven Universe, talking about how much he hates having testosterone in his body. So these are not really the manliest men, so to speak. Rebecca's brother is one of the directors, I think. I mean, it certainly seems like there's a deliberate attempt to hire as few men as possible onto the show.
At the very least, there's a lot of nepotism that's going on where people are just hiring. Yes, definitely. And also, like Steve. Okay, so Rebecca Sugar's boyfriend, he's also the guy who worked on a show called OKKO. Is that right?
Yeah, he used to work with Rebecca, and of course, he got a show that was greenlit.
And then there's let me see.
He had work before that. Let me just say, both he and Rebecca had some work before that, but the work that they had is nowhere near what you would back in a few years ago before all this started. At that time, if you had come to a studio with this amount of work, with this body of work, and said, "Listen, give me a show," you would get kicked the fuck out. You would not get a show after being a storyboard artist on a show for like 2 years. And not being good at it either.
Yeah.
So now Ian Jones Quarry now has his own show. I haven't watched much of it. It's not that bad, but he has a really weird episode that's a metaphor for gun control, like
Oh,
a really
brother.
tasteless, stupid metaphor. In one of the episodes, someone comes to town and starts selling skeleton remotes. Skeleton remotes, when you point them at someone and you click the button, it turns them into a skeleton. And then everyone gets a skeleton remote, and they all start turning each other into skeletons as revenge for turning them into skeletons, and it goes completely out of hand, and everyone turns into a skeleton, and then the main character gives a big speech about these skeleton remotes, which are obviously guns, and then a bunch of strawmen pop out of the audience and give their opinions that are strawman arguments of anti-gun control regulation rhetoric.
Mm-hmm. Pro Second Amendment rhetoric. Okay.
Yeah, and the show is the target audience is like, I think 6 to 11. So who are you preaching to? Why are you doing this? It feels like he really wanted to talk about gun control, but he doesn't have an adult show, so he just put in the show that he does have. This is what's happening all the time. They have these narratives that they want to push, but they're not talented enough to write for a show for grown-ups, and they have no other creative outlet, and they have no one supervising them, so they just put it in the show they're working on. You want to talk about your opinions about transgender rights? Well, you don't have your own show. Just put it in this show. You want to talk about discrimination? You don't have your own show, and the person who's supposed to be watching you isn't watching you. Put it in this show. Why not? I mean, of course, you're just a storyboard artist, but who cares? Just shovel it in. Why not?
Yeah. Tyler Preston gives us $5 and says, opinions on Netflix's Voltron. Also, this is why we need a Jim Shooter in animation, because the inmates are running the asylum. I don't know who Jim Shooter is, and I've never seen the Voltron, so I don't have an opinion.
I have not seen it yet. I'm constantly being asked to watch it and make a video about it. I don't really want to make more cartoon videos, but I might, because people keep fucking asking me to.
Yeah.
But anyways, there are weird fucking stories that the fandom is completely psychotic, like 24 hours a day sending people death threats for criticizing the fucking show. I might make a video about the new Voltron show.
Oh, really? Oh, okay,
yeah,
okay.
I don't have Netflix here, so I have to go out of my way to watch these things. But I'm intrigued, because it has been going on for like 2 years, when there's nonstop talk about the Voltron shit, about the Voltron fans being completely psychotic, and I need to know what they're so fucking crazy about.
I don't know. I think fandoms is what happens when you're like, don't have a fucking father in the house. That's what I think. It seems to be that people just attach themselves to these like subcultures, and they get really, because the Steven Universe subculture is like one of the worst ones I've ever seen, even though I've never seen the show before. Like, do you remember the story that was it was a couple of years ago? There was this girl. I'm pretty sure that she's female.
It was Sammy.
Yeah, that did like the swap, like
she drew one of the characters as too skinny.
Yeah,
and,
that's
the
it.
fans went apeshit, started threatening to kill her. One of them got arrested for it, I think. Then she said she committed suicide.
Or attempted suicide. Yeah, she like drank bleach or something, and then she was calling from the hospital.
I don't think it was bleach, but some people claim that she faked it. But even when the fans didn't know she faked it, they kept sending her death threats while she was in the hospital, presumably. But aside from that, and this is really talked about, there was another fan that had the exact same thing happen to him. I don't know what it... Oh, I know. Wait, I remember what he did to piss them off. He supported a really weird pairing between two of the characters that didn't make any sense. And all of the fans got angry because it implied that a character that they saw as gay was straight. So they started harassing him until he also allegedly either tried to commit suicide or said he's going to commit suicide and continued doing it despite him saying that. And it's not a very well-known story. I hardly ever even talked about it in my video. I just flashed some evidence about it on the screen, but you can find it somewhere in the Encyclopedia Dramatica article about the show. And after I made that video, I'm making a follow-up. I've heard several other stories that I might put in that video about other people who were harassed by the fandom to the point of attempting suicide or contemplating attempting suicide, and the fans continued to harass them despite them telling them, listen, leave me alone or I'll kill myself. And them just continuing. I have more stories about that now.
Yeah. Well, okay, so we're getting close to the hour here, and I know that you're a little limited on time. So the one other thing I wanted to ask you about was the actual like fucking that's going on, but that supposedly is going on behind the scenes. Again, this is all speculation. This is what people are talking about. We don't have any confirmation, but I guess it has something to do with, because I was taking my notes and I couldn't get the names. Someone behind Star versus the Forces of Evil, as well as somebody behind Gravity Falls. Maybe I'm wrong. I get all these things mixed up. But go on, sir.
Let me go ahead. Allegedly, Alex Hirsch, the showrunner of Gravity Falls, sleeps with pretty much everyone. He slept with, when they were in college, he slept with Darren Nafsi, the showrunner of Star Versus. He allegedly slept with a bunch of people. Again, I don't know their relationships. I don't think they put it out in public, but this is what my source tells me. He allegedly slept with Dana Terrace, who was one of the storyboarders on his show. And then he kept promoting her, and now she has her own show. It hasn't aired yet, but it's in the works. It's called Owl House, and he's of course not the only one. Everyone's sleeping with each other. There's a couple that works in animation, and the wife is constantly cheating on the husband behind his back. There are a lot of stories like this, and of course it doesn't end with that, because there are a lot of little predators. I mean, I'm getting a lot of people telling me about this right now. So John Crick, I don't know how to pronounce his name. John Kirkfalusi, the Ren and Stimpy guy who was outed as some sort of sexual harasser. So apparently everyone knew. Every single person who knew him knew he was doing it. For a literal decade, no one spoke up. What he would do, he would find young, usually underaged artists, and promised to female artists, promised to mentor them, and then use that to sleep with them. And again, a lot of them were underage. One of them got pregnant and had to have an abortion. That's a story that somehow did not make a lot of waves, but that's a thing that apparently happened. At least that's what she claims. So there's of course, I think the first name was Chris Savino. I think he was the one who was doing Loud House. He also got out as a pedophile. Dan Schneider I think he was from the Disney Channel. I get a lot of people mixed up. It's a complete mess. Look, if you're well established in the industry, you can maybe not get away with murder, but you can certainly get away with child abuse. I mean, look at Doug TenNapel. He hasn't done anything wrong, but the thing is, he's very Christian, like really Christian.
Yeah,
and
for sure.
Despite hating him, they can't really do anything because he's very well established. Like, they despise him. Not the people who work with him specifically. The people who despise him don't want to work with him, but they can't really fuck with him because, listen, people tell me that you can't get into a conversation with Doug and get out of it without a lecture about Christianity. Like, he will hound you with that. Apparently, that's what people say. But he's a nice guy. I've listened to a little bit of the show. He's a cool guy. Well, I know someone who knows him.
No, I've actually been trying to get Doug TenNapel on as a guest for a while. Ever since I saw him promoting his book, Bigfoot Bill book. And I know. I genuinely think he's a good guy that really loves art. He's very passionate about that. And he's really good at what he does too. Yeah,
but again, people can't, in the industry, they can hate him, but they can't really fuck with him because he's
clean.
He's clean, and he's on top. Like, I mean, he's not in the head of one of the largest studios. He's not at Disney or wait, what's he even doing right now? The point is, they can't really fuck with him. He can do whatever he wants, and they can't stop him. He doesn't do anything because he's a good Christian boy. But even if he did, they wouldn't step to him. Smaller people, they will fuck with them relentlessly. Like, say one thing out of line, and you are blacklisted. You are out. I'm hearing a lot of stories like right now from other people who've talked to me since I made that video. There's one person who just kind of stalks other artists on Twitter and threatens them, I guess. That's at least what people are telling me. Whoa. Well, I'll get to that. Yeah. Well, not with murder. She threatens them that if they have the wrong opinions, they won't find work.
Yeah. So it threatens to ruin their careers. And what's that based on? Because here's the thing. Like, I think there's a relation. Okay, so what we have so far is, according to these rumors coming from your source, right? Some of which is a lot of people believe is true, and some, a lot of it we can't say. So again, take it with a grain of salt, guys. I'm not saying anything definite here. This is just what we've heard.
People are downing me, and they are right to do so. Like, I've provided no substantial proof. You are right to be skeptical.
Yeah,
okay,
and that's okay.
Completely in the right.
Yeah. So, but like taking that as it is, what we have as far as information so far is, okay, so there's a lot of nepotism, there's a lot of favoritism, people are getting jobs that don't deserve it, the quality of the shows are suffering, there's a lot of people like working with each other, but not only that, but they're hiring friends and family and they're fucking each other, and there's a lot of all of that, right? There's a lot of incestuous, nepotistic stuff, and they're giving each other things like their own shows, they're promoting each other for it. Now, that isn't, I mean, it's very, very, I don't know if the word would be unethical, but I don't think that it's, I don't think it's terrible enough that we should like necessarily revolt, do what you want. I think that this kind of thing is probably not really unusual for most companies that have a lot of employees. People tend to hire people they know because they want people they can trust, or the people they want to be around.
The entertainment industry is corrupt. No one thinks it. It's not a secret, but if the industry, the animation industry as a whole is a rotten apple, the fucking core, the fucking black as star core is the animation industry. Okay? That is the shit that the worm gets to and turns the fuck around. Okay? It's a complete shit show.
Yeah. So, and that's related to, I think, to the larger thing, because when the people, if you like to know why the quality of animation itself seems to be going to shit, then I would guess that a lot of this has to do with that. Like, a lot of people who are not being hired on merit, they're not being pushed even in their education to be the best they can be, and they're getting the job not because they're good at what they do, but because they know the right people, or they're willing to suck some dick or whatever. And so that should...
To be fair, a lot of this is because there's a huge move to doing it with Flash, even with just things that are easier and cheaper, and of course outsourcing to Korea. Some of the studios they outsource to in Korea are really good, but a lot of them are just really bottom of the barrel. Just pointing that out. It's not 100%.
Sure, and they're probably, and part of it might be because they're thinking they don't need to spend a lot of money to get like the higher end studios to do the animation. They're just getting the people that'll get by, right?
They're trying to copy the success of Adventure Time, and you don't need a huge budget for that.
Exactly. So, that's just something that I wanted to put out there that we should, just sort of be aware of, be cognizant of. Sorry, I stumbled on that. I guess when you should really be suspicious is when people who you're supposed to trust to inform you on whether or not something is good are pushing something on you that clearly isn't, because they have a vested interest. Like in the example of Gamergate, where people were basically saying you should buy this, you should buy Zoe's game because it's good, but the only reason why they're promoting it is because here
the press really gets into it, because you get a lot of articles about these shows trying to push them on you. And the weird thing is that they're trying to push this on adults. I mean, it's a show for kids, but kids aren't reading Kotaku. They aren't reading Jezebel.
No.
I don't know who these articles are for. These are articles by grown women for grown women who are watching a children's show.
I actually think, honestly, I wonder if children actually watch these shows, and if it's not mostly adults watching them. I honestly wonder about that. Yeah.
I know that SpongeBob, for example, has a large adult following, but I think all of them are stoners. That's pretty much.
Sure. Just like My Little Pony, I don't know like how many of them are bronies and how many of them are actually children. I think in that case it is probably mostly kids, but I wonder about these other ones,
Yeah, so what were we talking about? Okay, so again, as I said, the press kind of gets into it. They're trying to push these shows, but a lot of the press is really weird. Like, I sent something that people corrected me as a mistake, but I didn't really want to get into the finer points of it. I said that Darren Nafzee is the first female showrunner on Disney, which of course is not true. There were at least two before her, at least one, possibly two, depends on how you want to define it. The point is, the reason I said that was because that's how she's being promoted. People who are writing these articles are pretending she's the first female showrunner. And the same thing is sort of happening with Noelle Stevenson, who is now doing the new She-Ra reboot. Some articles have named her as the creator of She-Ra. I mean, they word it deceptively, so it looks like, you can misunderstand it as them saying that she created She-Ra, but it's vague enough that they can say that we didn't say she created She-Ra, we say she created this She-Ra show specifically, but it's worded deceptively, intentionally.
Yes. So they're basically allowing themselves.
They're trying to promote her as. They're trying to promote these women as revolutionaries, as the first people who have done that, to sort of push an agenda to promote these cartoons, because the cartoons themselves are covertly, maybe to some degree, promoting ideas that they agree with. So it's kind of, well, it's the snake eating its own tail.
Well, I think there is probably some of that. I mean, I remember Jonathan McIntosh. He had you know who Jonathan McIntosh is? Yeah. So he made on his channel that no one watches. He made this video about how Steven Universe was the show that does masculinity best because Steven cries all the time, and you know, he was intentionally pushing. And this guy's not a child, and he's not talking to children. So he is asking adults that watch his content to watch Steven Universe, and not just because he thinks it's good and entertaining, but mainly because he thinks it's important and educational. And so
let me tell you something. There's something real dirty with what's going on with Macintosh and YouTube, because I remember he made that weird what's it called? What's the really awful show? The Something Theory.
Oh, the Big Bang Theory.
The Big Bang Theory.
Bazinga, yeah.
Yeah, he made that video, and you could not get away from that shit. Like, I have never watched any of his videos. I've not watched videos related to him in any way. And the algorithm would shove it down your throat 24/7.
Yeah.
Now Anita is, of course, friends with people at Google. They even have a conference room named after her.
Yep, I talked about it on my channel. Yep.
Yeah, I think she had a hand in it. My opinion, I think that, as some of you might know, prior to becoming an internet feminist, Anita Sarkeesian worked essentially as a professional con artist. And I think she's just, she's afraid that Macintosh has some dirt on her, and if he's not satisfied with his position, then he might talk. She needed to promote him to make sure that he's good and happy. Not directly, not tell him, listen, I'm going to do this for you, don't talk about me. But if he gets disgruntled, he has some shit to say, and she's better off with him happy. So I think she used some connections there. That's my speculation on the matter.
Yeah, no, that I could see that. I thought the same thing, because even though his subscribers are a lot lower than Anita's, and I never really looked for his. I already forgot what the name of his channel is. Something Detective Agency or something like that. Yeah. So, but his video, that one in particular, the one about Big Bang Theory, it did keep popping up as a suggested video. But YouTube, they do have the ability, and have done in the past many, many times, and they still do this thing where they will put things in the trending bar that aren't actually trending as much as other videos that don't make it in the trending.
I never look at the trending. I couldn't care less about the trending.
Well,
never in my life have I looked at it.
It tells you what they're trying to. They're not actually putting what is actually trending. They're trying to push what's trending. So when
they're getting paid.
Yeah, or that's what I mean. They're getting paid to promote certain videos. That's why if anyone goes, or if you go into YouTube and you're not logged in, no one's logged in, and you go to the trending thing, it puts whatever YouTube wants to put. And a lot of that stuff will have lower views than, say, InfoWars when they were on YouTube, but they'll never be in the trending section, even though they technically should be by by what we call trending, right? So
He keeps trying to shove really bad Israeli music in my face that I don't want to listen to.
Yeah. So well, I never had the benefit of that.
Yeah.
Sorry. I
You're
guess
not missing out.
no, I'm not. Okay. All right. Well. Okay, so I guess I don't have anything else. Is there anything else about that video that you think we should know that maybe was really important that I didn't bring up?
Let me see. No, not really, but I will say this. If anyone's watching, if anyone's interested in anyone in any way related to, I know, went to school with some of these people or worked on any of this shit, talk to me because I'm making another video if I get enough of these stories. Like I got like a bunch of people who contacted me since. So if you're interested in saying something anonymously about the situation, then here's your chance. DM me on Twitter and I'll listen to what you have to say. And if it's interesting and if I have enough content, I'll maybe make a second video because I've heard some. This video is more from amateurs who have had interactions with people within the industry, but there's some weird shit going on.
Yeah. All right. Well, that's good to know. So, guys, I'm not saying this is a Toongate. I'm not saying that, but
Toongate, leave me out of it. I do not want to be in the center of this autism storm. Okay. I don't like adults who watch cartoons. I'm making these videos because people keep asking me, and I want to stop. They will not leave me alone.
No, so I understand that.
If you cartoon spurks start a fucking Toongate, stay the fuck away from me. If anyone says Toongate to me, I will fucking stab them. Leave me the fuck alone. Not interested.
Okay, fair enough. Yeah, my interest in it is mainly because I'm interested in culture in general, and like I like to see what these people are doing when they're trying to manipulate things. Personally, I've never seen any of the shows you're talking about. I swear, I've never seen them. I don't even know. I didn't know. As far as I was concerned, all of them were the same studio because they all look the same. And as an artist,
I get. Man, you have no reason to watch them.
Yeah.
I have no reason to watch them, but people keep asking me to.
Yeah. So. Anyway, so people are already they're writing Toongate in the chat just to fuck with us. All right, well, thanks for coming on the show, man. I'm glad that you were, and if you learn anything else, let me know. I'd like to see your follow-up video when you make it. I'm curious to see how deep the rabbit hole goes because I do have an interest in just seeing all this sort of, corrupt shit that's going on, and in addition, I don't know if it's something that you can help me with, but maybe if there's a way, maybe you can put me in contact with your source. You can at least ask them if they want to talk to me, and
I'll ask them, but
I won't like out them or anything like that. I'm just curious to get confirmation from the persons, or at least some level of it. But what are you gonna say?
Okay, I'll check it out with them, but for the record, they're very protective of their identity because this got a lot of attention, and they're worried that someone's gonna figure out who they are.
Yeah, sure. I feel that. I'm
like a lot of people have been coming at me trying to get their name, just throwing like all sorts of names that they think it's the guy. The people online think it's one guy. People who are closer in the industry think it's a couple of other guys, 2 or 3 of them.
So they're trying to figure it out? They're trying to like out this person?
No, not necessarily. They're just curious, or they want to know if I'm telling the truth. But everyone comes at me and I'm like, listen, I can't confirm or deny. If I start telling you who it isn't, then you're going to figure out who it is. Just stop asking me. I can't tell you. But there are a lot of theories. There's about 3 theories I've gotten from people who've contacted me in private. There's one theory I've seen going around online that people keep asking me if that's the guy. They're sure that's the guy. I'm like, listen, I can't tell you if that's the guy or not. Maybe it's the guy, maybe it's not the guy. If I tell you, then what's the point of anonymity? I definitely can't tell you it's not the guy because then you'll ask me about another guy.
Yeah, sure.
Everyone's sure it's a guy, by the way. 100% of the people are sure it's a guy. Although, about everyone who contacted me, almost everyone who contacted me after I put out the video have been women. So it's primarily women who are very disgruntled with what's going on. I think, like they're pissed off, but everyone's sure that it's a guy.
Well, you know what? I got two more things that just came to mind. One,
go ahead.
You said this guy was black. Guy, I'm just saying guy for the sake of simplicity. You say that this guy was blacklisted. Is there any like reason? Do you know why he was blacklisted?
Well, I know more or less, but I can't really get into details because then everyone would know. Everyone who worked with him would know who is the person I'm talking about.
Ah, I see. So, but okay, so they were blacklisted. You can say what?
I can say this. It was completely unjustified. It was a really weird story. And then after it happened, it got turned into this weird rumor mill, into these weird, insane stories that never happened to keep
Mm-hmm.
this person from working in, well, in some of the studios. They can still get work in other studios,
But the
but
goal was to make sure he could never work again, basically. Even
not
though it didn't really,
necessarily.
or at least keep him away from the people that they knew or whatever.
Not necessarily. Just some specific people had a huge grudge against this person over a variety of weird, unrelated reasons,
Mm-hmm.
and they got into a fight with them, and they it just turned into a complete mess. Ended up getting him getting to the point where they lost their job, and uh, sorry, my mouth is a little
Yeah.
dry.
It's all right.
So
It's all right.
and after that, they just kind of can't keep hounding this person. Well, in the studios where they have influence, which is mostly Cartoon Network and Disney TVA, there are a lot of studios, but these two studios are a complete mess.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Okay. And the other thing is, so what about, was there anything in your video about the, I forget the fucking guy's name, but the guys behind Rick and Morty? Were they also a part of that at all, or?
I mentioned it, but I didn't get into details because I might make a follow up to my Rick and Morty video where I make fun of the stupid comments I got.
Mm-hmm.
But there was another rumor I heard. I'll tell it here because the people who I don't want to throw it out too early, but not everyone's gonna hear it. So we don't have a real intersection of watchers. So my watchers aren't
Gonna
going to know
likely
I
see this.
already.
And people don't
Yeah,
usually watch streams that are like, they see something that's like an hour and 15 minutes and
yeah.
they're like, oh, shit, I'm not
So
watching that.
basically,
So,
the reason that the seasons take so long to make, at least the second season, because after the first season, allegedly, Royland just kind of fucked off to quote unquote make a video game, which was basically every. By the way, everyone told him, listen, if you, it's a successful show. If you fuck off now, it'll take so long for us to rehire people. We have to fire everyone and find new people. And he's like, I don't care. I'm gonna go fuck off and make a game. And him making a game was basically other people making a game and him allegedly doing a lot of LSD.
oh God. Is this the same guy that was saying that a third of everyone in the U.S. is a Nazi? Is that the guy? Is it the same
No, I
guy?
think that no, I think that was Harmon. I think
Okay,
that's the
yes, you're
other
right.
guy.
That's Dan Harmon. That's the other guy. Yes, yes.
You should watch the video I made about Rick and Morty. Dan Harmon got into a Twitter fight with a 15-year-old burger flipper and lost.
What?
That's how stupid he is. Like, they got angry. There was the story where he got angry at McDonald's because they were selling Szechuan sauce without paying him for promoting them, even though they never agreed for his show to
Fuck
promote them. He
off.
did it on his own. So some kid who is, I think he was some 15, 16-year-old, he gets into an argument with Harmon on Twitter about this, and Harmon ends up having to fucking block him because a fucking 16-year-old working a minimum wage job is smarter than Dan Harmon. And it's not the first 16-year-old he's fucked with, because there was another story where he started drunkenly harassing some guy who said his new show idea wasn't good, and the guy contacted me after I made the video recently and told me, listen, I was the guy who talked about the video, and I was 16, and Dan Harmon was harassing me on Twitter when I was 16 because I told him one of his ideas was bad. These people are psychotic.
Yeah, that sounds crazy. So, all right, yeah. So that was it. I wanted to mention Rick and Morty because I figured I knew there's a couple of other ones that I like regular. Somebody asked about regular show. I have no idea.
Did not
Whatever.
get a chance to watch regular show. That one's made, I think that's made by JG Quintel. Let me check it. JG Quintel. I'm almost 100% sure that that's him. Let's see.
But you guys see the larger pattern. So these shows, they don't just look the same. There's something going on,
Quintel is
behind
from
it. So
Quintel is from regular show, and I think he's also involved with. Oh no, Quintel just I think he did a voice there. Whatever. I keep forgetting what Quintel worked on. The point is, Quintel is pretty fine. The weird thing about Quintel is that he's really, really secretive. Like, no one knows anything about him. He won't talk to anyone. If you want to talk to him, you have to talk to him through his friends. Like, he has some friends, and you can't get to him without talking. You can't get to Quintel without talking to them. Very weird, but apparently not a bad guy.
Well, I would be the same way if like the people in my industry were acting like these fuckers, and I had to like make sure that nobody had anything on me. I'd be like Jackie Chan secretive. Jesus. Yeah. So I don't know. I don't blame him. I'll put it that way. You know, you either got to be Doug TenNapel or you got to be like this guy, like a mystery. And it seems to be the only way. And I'm not Christian, so I'm just gonna have to be a mystery. All right. Well, anyways, with that said, that's all I got. So I'm going to let you, we're going to go ahead and get out of here. I know it's like getting close to 1:30 over there for you. So I appreciate you coming on so late at night over there in Israel. I hope you guys are doing well and you're safe there, you know, from whatever is going on.
Nothing at the moment, you know. A stabbing here or shooting there, nothing big.
Yeah, exactly. And thank you guys for coming on. Leave us a comment, give us a like, and you know, remember again, I'm just saying this one more time. This is not confirmed stuff. This is all like coming from a third-party source that, you know, sounds, I think, credible enough that it might be worth bringing up to talk about. I thought it would be an interesting conversation nonetheless, and I was not wrong. I actually enjoyed my conversation with Easy Peasy. So thank you so much for coming on the show. And guys, be sure to make sure that no matter what, do not comment #Toongate, because that would be really bad and spurgy of you to do. So just don't do it. I'm making a command right now. Don't do it. So I'll talk to you guys later. Thanks for coming on the Fireside Chat, and we'll see you.